What's up? This is Hoppy Hour. I am your host, Ryan Hoppy. And from 99.5 The Wolf in Dallas, the one and only Nathan Fast is on Hoppy Hour. What's up, dude?
What's up, man? How are you?
I'm doing good, man. So before we get into everything you've done in radio, I got to ask you, did you really get a ticket this afternoon from the cops? I saw that on social media.
Dude, it wasn't even, yes, I did. And, I was driving home after the show, and I was delirious because I was going on like 2 hours of sleep.
Yeah.
And, the guy was just a hard ass, and I was like, yeah, I'm not getting out of this one. And he takes my license, and he goes, Nathaniel Fast. Is that right? I go, yeah. He's like, as in driving too fast? And I'm like, bro, you went there. Yep.
Dude, isn't it weird when you've been up for so long doing a radio shift and then you have to go into like let's say Mickey D's and you have to order food, or you get pulled over by the cops and you just don't feel like you're all there because you're so worn out from your shift, and you want to sort of let people know that you're worn out because you feel like you're acting differently? Do you ever have that?
I get to a point because I'm going so hard these days that I kind of feel like I'm floating sometimes. Like,
yes.
I was picking up my daughter from preschool last week, and one of the moms came up to me and she goes, I was minding my own business, waiting to pick her up. And she goes, can I just tell you, that call that you played today made me so uncomfortable. And she completely caught me off guard. I was like, oh, I'm sorry. I didn't know what to say. I was like, sorry. Thanks for listening.
I'm guessing that your drinking days are pretty much over with because you're married, you got a nice house, you have a kid. But back in the day, whenever you would get recognized and you were maybe drunk at the bar, isn't it kind of weird because you feel like you should be sober when you get recognized? Like you feel like you're acting like a bad version of you to the person that recognized you?
Well, that's really funny you mentioned that, because the reason why I had to call you right back, I wanted to come outside because it's a beautiful night here in Texas, but I also wanted to pour myself a drink. But to answer your question, I specifically remember back when I was like in Boise, and I would do like 2 or 3 club nights a week, and I would have to give a pep talk to myself beforehand, like, hey, no matter what happens, you got to be nice to whoever you're talking to tonight, because you're representing the station, you're representing yourself. And the last thing I wanted was to end up in my GM's office the next day, like, so what happened last night?
Yeah, it's weird.
Which only happened a few times.
Isn't it weird when you see the like news about some radio guy that like drives a van and then crashes into a tree, and you're just like, bro, like, how did you think that was going to be a good thought? Like, drinking and driving's never good, but when you're driving the van that you work at, it's like, what is the mindset there?
Oh, well, it's not even just drinking and driving. It's just when you're always representing the station. You don't want to cut people off. You don't want to be a dickhead on the road, because you're representing the station.
How has everything been in radio? Because do you ever kind of sit back and you go, I grew up in a small town and now I'm working in the 4th biggest radio market? Is it ever kind of weird to think about?
I feel lucky to be doing what we do and making a living out of it. Like I remember laying in bed in Ohio, which, I literally, people are like, oh, where are you from? I'm like, oh, Haviland, Ohio, which it's not even a town. It's a village. There's like 300 people that live in it. It doesn't even have a stoplight. It has a post office. That's all it has. And I would like dream at night about what Kiss FM in LA was like. I was like, oh man, it's probably got like gold plated elevators and like marble floors. It did have marble floors, but like, I was like, oh man, it must be just so amazing. I never thought that I would actually even ever visit California, let alone live there for a while. But I just, it's been fun, and it was so frustrating and hard breaking in. Like when I was in college, getting an internship, and then I actually had to, I graduated college and I got a big boy job that was not even in radio. And I was like, well, I guess this is going to be life. I got to like have a real job. But I was able to break in, and I just feel lucky to be able to do what we're doing. And I'm just, I want to ride it out for, however long this journey takes me.
So I work part-time in radio, so I have 2 jobs. And, dude, there's nothing more humbling than when you're doing that other job, and it makes you appreciate your radio job so much more.
Dude, it's funny you mentioned that. That was actually like the tipping point. I was in Las Vegas, and it was my big boy job straight out of college. I was a financial analyst for Luxor, which is like the giant pyramid in Las Vegas. And I was working in the basement, and I was just sitting there staring at spreadsheets all day. And then I finally, I don't even know how I did it, but I got on part-time at KLUC. And so I would during I'm doing air quotes right now, my lunch break, I would drive to the station for the jock meetings, and I'd be in my 3-piece suit and tie, and everybody else must have been looking at me like, who is this dude? But I would go, and then I would go back and sit there at my desk and be like, this sucks. While everybody else was after the jock meeting, playing football in the parking lot and having fun, I was going back and doing finance crap. And finally, they do a big toy drive out there every Christmas with Chet Buchanan. And finally, after leaving a jock meeting, I was like, dude, I'm having no impact on the world whatsoever. Coming here, sitting in the basement of a casino, everybody's a zombie here. It's just the same thing every day. And so I finally you know what? I have a little bit of money saved up, so I'm going to quit this, and I'm going to go balls to the wall with radio, and hopefully it works out. And I had that demo from KLUC, which I thought was okay at the time. Listening now, I'm like, oh my God, what was I thinking? But I sent that out to literally every job posting on All Access, and I got no responses. And I was like, oh God, there's no jobs out there. What am I doing? Finally, I heard back from two stations within the course of a week. They both happened to be from Boise. If you live in Idaho, it's Boise. But I heard back from 2 stations in Boise, and one of them gave me a shot.
What's that like when you finally get the job and you're finally full-time?
Well, I thought it was an April Fool's joke, because it was in the spring. And I was just so paranoid. I was like, this has to be a joke. Nobody's responding to me. Until it's official, until I sign a contract, until I'm there and I'm literally in the studio, I don't believe it. Now I'm not quite that way anymore, but I was just like, is this real? Is this happening? And that was almost 10 years ago. And man, radio has changed so much, even in just, those past couple of years.
You know what I've learned about life when it comes to working in radio is when you meet new people, or you have, let's say, a girl in your life or friends, if they're not 100% down with you doing radio, you need to get them out of your life. As negative as that sounds, you need to have people in your life that are going to be with you throughout the grind.
What's hilarious that you bring that up is I just had that conversation with my wife.
Yeah.
Earlier this week. I met her when I was there in Idaho, and her sister was actually. I met her sister at one of the first events that we ever did. It was a Twilight movie premiere, if you remember that. And I was out there. I was the night guy, and I was broadcasting live from the movie theater. And her sister at the time was a senior in high school, and I met her, and then she eventually became an intern with us. And then my wife, man, she was going to Boise State at the time, and she would call into my show at night, and she was driving home from class trying to win circus tickets or whatever I was giving away, and she sounded good on the radio. And you know the rule. If a girl sounds hot on the radio, more than likely she's not hot.
Yeah.
But she just had a great voice, and I was like, oh man, I'm just gonna milk this for all it's worth. So I would talk to her. It'd be late. There'd be nothing going on at 10 or 11 at night. So I just talked to her for 30, 45 minutes and bank material. And anyways, I ended up moving to San Diego from Boise, and we, I never thought I'd see her again. But she ended up moving to LA, completely unrelated to me, probably 6 months later, and we reconnected. And that's a whole nother story. But I had this conversation. We ended up getting married. I had this conversation with her earlier this week. Like, I need you to, when people come up to her and they're like, all right, what were they talking about? Was that for real? Like, what's, something that we do on our show? She doesn't know how to respond. It might catch her off guard. And I'm like, I need you to be all in. And she is now, she gets it. And her sister actually works for our sister station there in Boise. So she gets it. She knows that radio is a weird world, and you know what? She accepts it.
You know what's the worst?
But
what's up?
You're exactly right. Like whoever it is that you decide to date or whatever, like they need to get it.
When you lived in Boise, was that when they went to all the bowl games?
Yeah, man, they were really good.
Yeah,
I remember I would be in the studio and it'd be like a Friday night. And actually, I remember one of the games. I mean, Boise, they had like a 50. I'm probably exaggerating here, but like they were undefeated like year after year.
Yeah.
I mean, Kellen Moore, like he won like 50 some games. But I remember I forget if it was a conference championship or something, but they were playing Nevada, and Colin Kaepernick was the quarterback, and they beat Boise State. But dude, I mean, they would put up points. They would score 50 points in a game. So like, it'd be cool. I mean, that was when we first started getting like digital downloads to give away. So like, that station, they were very connected to the community, and like, it was a thing. Like every time Boise State scored, I would give away something. I'd be like, all right, every time Boise State scores, caller, whatever, you're getting something, tickets or whatever. So like, it'd be really fun. And it was really fun. I mean, we were literally like right across the street from the stadium, and it was a lot of fun. Actually, the first Boise State game I ever went to, they lost. That was a heartbreaking game because they were undefeated. They were like in the top 5, top 10, and maybe they were 5 at the time, but they lost as at the end of regulation to TCU, which coincidentally is now here in Texas where I live.
Yeah.
But I was like, man, maybe I just shouldn't go to any more games. Maybe I'm bad luck. But it was a lot of fun, man.
You know what's weird about sports is it seems like a lot of times it'll really be the biggest thing for a small market, but that's what makes a small market so much fun.
Well, you know what's hilarious is here in Dallas, Dirk Nowitzki is, everybody is saying like, oh man, it's his last. Well, I didn't really understand what a big deal Dirk Nowitzki was till I lived here. I mean, he just passed Wilt Chamberlain on the all-time scoring list. So he's number, I don't know if it's 5 or 6, but he's right behind Michael Jordan all time. Like, that's legend status. That's for sure Hall of Fame status, but he's in his 21st season. So this coming Tuesday is their final home game. Everybody, I mean, they're advertising it. They got billboards saying it's his last game, but he hasn't come out yet and said it's his last game. So our promotions department came to me and said, hey, we got 2 pair of tickets to this game. We're not a sports station, but that kind of transcends sports. That's that's a pop culture. That's just a huge Dallas, Texas event. So we've had a lot of fun. I mean, I basically said, dude, I was on Craigslist last night. Dude, like, I mean, it's crazy. It's going to be $150 just to sit in the nosebleed section next Tuesday for this game. So we're going to give away tickets the next couple of days to that game, which is huge. But you're exactly right. Like, and obviously, I mean, I've always been in pop music or now country, and not that it's necessarily sports, but Dallas. I mean, there's certain markets, Boston, Pittsburgh, New York, Dallas, that are. I mean, you got 4 major sports franchises. Like, if you're not in touch with what's going on, like you're missing out.
Dude, you know what Dirk did that just doesn't happen anymore is I'm sure he has an ego, but he didn't really have an ego. He was kind of like a Tim Duncan because, like, all the guys now, I mean, I love watching LeBron play, but that guy loves himself. I feel like Tim Duncan's one of the last players, or I feel like Dirk's one of the last players now that's playing that's from that old type of basketball where you just let your playing be your thing.
Yeah, you're exactly right. Actually, I never thought about it that way, but Tim Duncan was that way, and Dirk is totally that way. And I mean, he is definitely a Hall of Famer, but you don't see him taunting the refs or throwing a fit. When he does. I mean, even like I was just on Twitter last night. Like, I want to like Kevin Durant. Like, he's obviously a superstar, but like he's become kind of a crybaby, and he just got like his 15th technical foul of the year. It's like, dude, even Chris Paul. Like, Chris Paul's like the president of the Players Association, and he's just being a baby to the refs and taunting them. I'm like, what are you doing, dude?
You know what I was thinking about? I think this is not going to work with LeBron in Los Angeles. I think this will be so bad, it'll make Michael Jordan's time with the Wizards seem legendary. I just think he doesn't care. I don't think he cares anymore about winning, and I think he just wants to put up numbers, and I think Magic Johnson and the Lakers thought he cared about winning, and I feel like Los Angeles is going to turn on him.
It's funny. I mean, I hope.
Yeah.
I'm not that I'm a huge LeBron fan, but I hope that I would love to see him win a championship with
dope.
the Lakers. A funny story about LeBron. So, like I said, I'm from the cornfields of Ohio. When I was in high school, we actually played because we graduated the exact same year. So we were both sophomores. I was a bench warmer for the JV team. He was obviously like Mr. Basketball in Ohio, but we played them in the state finals. Our team, it was just a bunch of farm boys, white farm boys, tall, skinny. We knew how to play defense. We were scrappy. And he played for Akron St. Vincent St. Mary, which was like a recruited team of like future college players, 6'4", 6'6", 6'8", like big boys. And we lost by 2 points in the state championships to them, which is pretty awesome. I still have the program, which is crazy because he looks like such a baby. And back then they made him cover up his tattoos. Like, I guess that was in 2003. They still weren't allowed to like have tattoos in Ohio high school basketball. But it's been fun to follow him. And I mean, it was obvious, dude. It was like me or you playing basketball with a bunch of second graders. Like, he just dominated. He was dunking all over. He was flying. Like, he was just on another level. It's like, dude, obviously this guy is going to be in the NBA. So it's been fun to watch. I mean, he went to the Cavs, and it was a rough go to start. But then when he had the decision and he went to Miami and he became a villain, I was like, man, I don't know. But then when he went back to Cleveland, I was like, okay, that's cool. And you know what? After you won a championship with Cleveland, I was like, dude, you do whatever you want. You brought a championship to freaking Cleveland.
I don't know. I just feel like he's going to waste the Lakers' time. Like, when your friend goes out with that girl for 2 to 3 years and there was really no point to it and you knew they were going to break up anyway.
Yeah.
That's kind of what I feel like this is. Like, they're going to hook up a lot. It's going to be fun, but I just don't think this is going to lead to anything.
Yeah, and you're telling your friend because, like, dude, I've been there. I know you're literally wasting your time. But until they go through it and experience it for themselves and make those same mistakes, like they're not gonna know. I would just tell you this season, I'm so glad I have not had to hear anything about LeVar Ball.
Oh,
dude,
God,
Magic Johnson or somebody must have said something like, dude, you need to shut up. Because from a marketing standpoint, like, he's a genius. He doesn't care. But from a basketball fan perspective, I'm just like, bro, you are so annoying. Shut up.
Here's the thing with LeVar. It would work if he was the most talented person in the family, but the problem is I think it's really hurt Lonzo's confidence, and I think it's just made it very weird for Lonzo. I think he meant well, and he was trying to pump up his kid, but I actually think if LeVar wasn't there, I feel like Lonzo would be a better player. I feel like they all live in the shadow of their dad, and I think that's the biggest fault about that family.
Yeah, totally, because you don't even really hear much from Lonzo. He's pretty soft-spoken. But Yeah, I don't know, man. And I want to pull for him, like I said, because he seems like a nice dude, but his dad is just so obnoxious. And then, you got the two other brothers, which is also crazy because, like, the youngest one, I think he's a senior in high school now. And I'll from time to time, I'll just pop on his Instagram and see what he's doing. And, dude, the guy has millions of followers. He's a high school kid. But his dad, he's already got a reputation. So, like, it's like wherever he goes, it's going to be like, okay, do we want to deal with the circus that comes with that?
Did you watch their show that they had on Facebook, I believe, Facebook Watch?
I've watched a couple episodes. I really it's kind of like the Kardashians to me. Like, I don't want to watch it, but I kind of do.
It's amazing. What I love the best about it, I maybe watched 4 episodes one night. The best part about it was his wife. Man, she is so embarrassed by him. He's just walking around being LeVar, and his wife is just like, oh, dear God.
The worst is when he's like, yeah, I could beat Michael Jordan one-on-one. It's like, really, man? Really? Dude, why would you even say that?
The first time he announced that his kid was better than Curry, I believe in the Big Ten Finals or whatever, the first time we heard about LeVar, I was board hopping overnight from 12 to 6. So I saw the first tweets ever about LeVar, and I immediately went, this is going to be a thing. Like, I saw it happen in real time because a person filmed the video. Like, that's how recent it was. It was just a video of a TV and LeVar talking, and I remember thinking, this guy's going to be famous. Just immediately you knew it was going to happen.
Well, I mean, like I said, from a marketing standpoint, like, marketing is the art of getting noticed, and he doesn't care. He doesn't care if people hate him. He just wants to get noticed and, turn that into money somehow. So from a marketing perspective, I mean, I have respect, but like, I would rather people not think I'm super obnoxious and a big jerk off.
You know who I'd rather be when it comes to like the ranking of radio? I'd rather be like a Kobe Bryant or like a Tom Brady where, yeah, you're going to lose at times, but you win most of the time, than be LeVar Ball. Because to me, the LeVar Ball of radio is that dude that just talks about themselves all the time. Like, I really believe when you want to do a thing in life, you have to kind of be quiet about it.
Yeah, 100%. You got to let the results speak for itself. Like, I wish that I could hate Tom Brady. I mean, I don't like Tom Brady because he went to Michigan. But other than that, man,
yeah,
all he's done, I mean, he was an underdog. He was like an 8th round draft pick. And he's been doing it for 20 years. And I got respect for that. He wins, and he's not in your face. He's not bragging about himself that I know of. I mean, I don't really like consume a lot of Tom Brady media, so I don't know. But yeah, I mean, he's pretty old school from what I understand. Like, he's not bragging about himself. He lets his results speak for himself.
You know what drives me nuts is, I know it's kind of a joke and it's a meme, but the whole thing where Tom was kissing his kid, I loved when everybody made a big deal out of that, because it's like the league is full of women beaters and people that beat their kids, and it was like, oh, heaven forbid somebody loved their son. That's just how I felt.
You know what? It is. That is a great point, because there's a bunch of really shady guys in the NFL. But as long as you can, do your job and perform and catch footballs and block defensive linemen, like, dude, it doesn't matter what you do. Like, you're going to get a job. Which, yeah, that sucks. And I think a lot of that, I mean, I don't post stuff about my opinions, really. I mean, I'll have opinions, but I keep it quiet. But like the Colin Kaepernick thing, he didn't beat anybody. He didn't commit a crime. He kneeled, and not that I'm for or against that, but there's people who have done much worse. And not that he's Tom Brady, not that he's the most talented quarterback, but he's definitely, I don't know now, maybe he's out of shape, or out of condition, but I think he's definitely better than some of the guys that are starting in the NFL for like the Jaguars or freaking whoever,
Yeah, you look at these bums that play quarterback when a person gets hurt, and you're like, you're seriously telling me, like, I'm saying this out loud in front of my TV. I'm like, you're seriously telling me that this dude is a better option than a dude that went to the Super Bowl and almost won on the goal line. Like, you would rather have this bum than just bring in Kaepernick.
Yeah, yeah, but it is, again, kind of like the LeVar Ball thing. It's going to be a circus, and maybe there was a thing with the NFL owners that they can spy. I don't know. That's rich people stuff, man. Like, yeah. I don't know. That's the billionaire club.
So I thought the XFL, so it's going to be a thing next year. And for the longest time, I thought that was going to be the best idea ever, especially because I live in Tampa and we're really big into wrestling. But I don't think it has a chance. Dude, the fact that the AAF couldn't even survive 2 months, nothing will ever be the NFL.
Yeah.
The NFL could literally have every game be 3-3, every single game all year round, all 32 teams, and the NFL is better than anything else.
Yeah, it is, man. I got really excited when I saw.
Yeah.
The AAL or
see,
whatever
you don't even know it's AAF. That's how meaningless it is.
I don't know. I was just excited because I'm more of a college football fan. I'm an Ohio State fan, and I follow like Ohio State players. I don't have a team. I mean, I'll obviously cheer for the Cowboys. I like it when the Cowboys win. It's fun when the Cowboys win. But like I never liked the Browns, never liked the Bengals. I'm an Ohio State. So when college football was over, it was kind of emotional for me. Like I was like, man, this sucks. It's going to be like 6-8 months before I get college football again. So yeah, I kind of gravitated to the NFL for the next month or so. And then when that was over, I was like, well, crap. So when I flipped on the TV one Saturday and I saw like the AAF, I was like, sweet. I don't even know who's playing. But it looks good. Like, dude, they had it was on, I think, CBS. Like, it looked legit. I was like, I'll watch this. And actually, there were some Ohio State players in there. So I was like, for sure, I'll watch this. But yeah, man, it's hard to go against the NFL and I mean, the XFL, it'd be awesome if it takes off. I think there's Vince McMahon. McMahon, I think, is going to he's involved with the team here in Dallas. So it'd be awesome if it could have some staying power, but I don't know.
Is there any vibe about any good things that could happen with the Cowboys, or is Jason Garrett just in the way of everything?
I
don't get it, man. I don't get it. Yeah.
He definitely bought himself another year by getting them to the playoffs. If they wouldn't have got to the playoffs, he for sure would have been gone. I mean, dude, Dak had a great kind of first year when he replaced Tony Romo.
Yeah.
And but he really the next couple years he kind of failed to live up to expectations. I think he's still on his rookie contract, to be honest. And Zeke obviously is a superstar, but there's so much drama with Zeke over the past year and a half. But he's obviously a superstar. I don't know, man. If they don't make the playoffs, if they don't improve on this past year, I think Garrett's probably gonna be leaving.
I hate saying this because I don't want to sound morbid, but I feel like the day Jerry Jones dies is the day it'll be good for the Cowboys. I feel like he's just so out of touch, and I feel like he knows he needs to get rid of Jason Garrett, but I think he just doesn't know what to do anymore.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. I never really understood it all until I lived here. I will say though, this was a couple years ago that we had a draft, because the draft was actually here last year, but that was the year before. The year before that, we had the station that I worked with, KBIL, at the time. We had a draft. We were there, the draft party, and that was the first time I heard Jerry speak. And he's a great speaker, man. He can really rally the troops. Like that was the first time I'd ever seen him in person, and I was like, he's got a lot of charisma. There's a reason he does what he does, but he is very old school and he is very rich. And it is definitely different being here. And his grandson, by the way, was just a senior in high school playing quarterback. And I think he's going to Arkansas next year. But Jerry flew. I live about 30 minutes east of downtown Dallas in a kind of it's called Rockwall. And his son was playing Rockwall High School, and he flew his chopper and landed it at Rockwall High School to watch his grandson play. Can you imagine the pressure, not just to be in his grandson or playing on the grandson's team, but being on the other team, being like, dude, we're playing Jerry Jones' grandson. Like, Jerry Jones is here. Like, I can't imagine that, dude. When I was in high school, like, there was like 200 people at our games. You know, we had like steel crappy bleachers. That's another thing in Texas, dude. Like, oh my God, like some of the high school sports complexes here. I mean, we're talking 50, 60, 70 million dollars. I went to my first year in college, Ball State University, which is in Muncie, Indiana, a MAC school. David Letterman went there. Literally the Rockwall High School football field is on par with Ball State University. It's like a small D1 school. It's like a MAC school. I mean, they got giant screens. They got giant inflatable helmets with fog machines that all the players run through before the game. I had never seen anything like it before I came here and watched high school football. Dude,
for people that haven't heard your show, what do you do on there that draws in listeners?
For one, I make fun of myself a lot. I want to be relatable. I want to be talk about what everybody's talking about. You know, and very local too, because we've got some shows here in Dallas. Obviously, it's a big market, so there's some syndicated shows we're going up against, and they can't talk about stuff that's happening locally. So, I mean, every time I talk to, I mean, I play so many callers, and the thing is, it's still a music station. I would love, you know, when I first did mornings, I was like, man, I rely on the music. Like, how am I gonna have crap to talk about for 4 or 5 hours in the morning? But now, I mean, I find myself being like, all right, we need to like go to break. You know, eventually I want to get to the point where, you know, we just have such a wealth of content that there's more of that. But I love playing listeners. I love interacting. I love being local. And I love talking about stuff that our competition can't.
How much is Texas like the show King of the Hill? Is it pretty accurate?
Dude, I never understood it until because I never once I moved out of my parents' house, I had always lived in apartments because I was like, dude, I'm never home. I don't have time. Like, if something breaks, like I just want to like call the, you know, front office, be like, hey, fix the shower head. But finally, it got to the point in San Diego. I was like, dude, I can't. This was just before I moved to Dallas. I was like, I can't live in any more apartments. Like, because at that point I had, she was my fiance at the time, and then we had 2 daughters, and it was pretty cramped. I mean, that was like an 1,100 square foot apartment in San Diego, which was, by the way, 60 seconds from the radio station, which was convenient, but it was so, I mean, we were living on top of each other, and it was so expensive. And I was like, we have to get a house. I don't want to have neighbors. I don't want to have to deal with this. So moved here. By the way, in Texas, there's no state income tax, which is freaking awesome.
Yeah.
And, I mean, Texas is just, especially like the Dallas-Fort Worth area, it's growing so fast. People from California are realizing, and don't get me wrong, man, I love California. It's beautiful. The weather's awesome. And I mean, yeah, that's why people pay a premium to live there. But for this stage in my life, I'm like, you know what, Texas, for raising a family, for just affordability, we moved this is the first house I've ever owned. We moved into a house that was 3 times bigger than that little apartment. We're paying the same thing. And we hit the jackpot, to answer your King of the Hill question. Our neighborhood, like our street particularly, it's all pretty much young people, same stage of life that we are, all freaking cool. So like, yeah, on Friday and Saturday night, it hasn't happened as much lately because we've just been so busy. But dude, like we have a Facebook group called Driveway Drinkers. Like it's like that. Like Friday and Saturday night, we'll just bring our lawn chairs out in the front yard and just drink and hang out and have a good time. And it's pretty funny. and a dude moved across the street whose name is Bobby. So dude, I freaking have that drop. Dang it, Bobby. That is my freaking favorite drop. But it's not exactly like King of the Hill, but it's not too far off.
Dude, I've been watching that every single night when I'm about to go to bed. I forgot, dude, that was a show that people didn't appreciate when it was on. That's an amazing show.
Yeah, no, you're right. And I'm just so busy. I have a hard time watching shows.
Oh, yeah.
Like the one show that I'm excited to come back on is Game of Thrones, which I'm always late to the party. I was late to the party on to Breaking Bad, Sons of Anarchy. Like there was a time in Las Vegas I didn't even have a TV, like, because I was just working nonstop. But finally, my mom was like, "Dude, you need to like relax." So my mom bought me an Xbox and finally Netflix. So I was able to dude, I was like, man, I missed out on Breaking Bad. Which, by the way, I used to work with Aaron Paul's mom. She's still a sales lady at Town Square there in Boise, which is crazy. And Sons of Anarchy was freaking awesome. Game of Thrones, finally, I jumped on that bandwagon, and it's freaking awesome. So my wife and I were pretty excited for it to start here, I think next weekend.
Working in morning radio, do you feel a pressure to have to watch everything that people are talking about? Because, dude, I'm just getting done with season 2 of Daredevil. Like, it took me 3 months because I don't have that much time, so I'll watch an episode here and there. But, dude, there's so many people that have so much free time they can watch whatever they want on Amazon Prime or Netflix. It makes me so anxious, dude.
No, you're exactly right, because you don't want to seem out of touch. And if everybody's talking about something, you want to have your finger on the pulse of everything. Fortunately, my wife, man, she watches everything. She watches everything anybody's talking about. I'm like, hey, have you watched blah, blah, This Is Us or blah, blah, blah. She's like, oh, yeah, I already finished that. Like, I'm like, when do you have time to watch all this crap? But she watches everything. So she can kind of keep me kind of up to date without having to watch everything. And it's funny you mentioned that. Like, one of my guiltiest pleasures, I hate that I say this, is Keeping Up with the Kardashians, which I have not watched since I started working in country radio, which is actually one of my favorite things about working in country. It's funny. I was listening to one of your podcasts with one of the Covino and Rich dudes, and I think it was Rich. And, he kind of talked about getting older and kind of moving to new stages of your life and, having kids. And it's a natural progression. And like when I was in my 20s, like, dude, I didn't want to get married. I didn't want to have kids. I thought my life was going to be over when I had kids. But it happens, and it's life. And it's dude, my daughters, they are so much fun, man. And plus they give me so much show prep and the ability to relate to people. But that being said, moving from pop music, which is, 18 to 34, I gotta pretend like, oh my gosh, Ariana Grande is so amazing. Oh my gosh, Caitlyn Jenner looks so amazing on the cover of Vogue. Oh, she's so freaking beautiful. I had to, oh my gosh, Kendall, Kylie, oh, we love them. Oh, did you see what she just posted on Instagram? I didn't give a fuck. Like, oh, who cares? But I had to act like I did. In country music, I don't have to pretend like I care about that shit anymore, because I don't. And I have a counter on my show. I think I've only in 6 months now at the Wolf, I've mentioned the Kardashians twice.
Dude, you know who I feel bad for is the guy that works at Top 40 Morning Show, and we can just think of names in different markets, and you can tell he doesn't want to talk about Kim or anything at all, but he's being forced to, and you can just hear it in his voice. I mean, again, from the LeVar Ball, from the marketing standpoint, like,
they got it down, and it's a machine, and good for them. Kylie Jenner is the youngest billionaire ever. That's the debate, whether she's self-made or not. Like, come on, bro. I granted, I think she's smart. She's got a smart team around her, but you were kind of born into a really good situation. And I think she finally came out and admitted, like, yeah, I had a little bit of help. But, no, you're exact. I mean, I can't speak to any other top 40 guys. I mean, like I just said, it's my guilty pleasure. But I kind of got to the point where I'm like, I'm tired of talking about this every day. It's something. Even if you look on Twitter, if you look on Show Prep, every day there's something about Kanye or Kim or whoever. And but here's the thing. I mean, our listeners, my mother-in-law is actually staying with us for a week here. I go upstairs. The TV is literally always on the Kardashians because she loves it. So you got to relate, but at the same time, I don't want to spend every break dedicated to, oh my gosh, did you see what Kim was wearing? Blah, blah, blah. I mean,
you know what the thing is, dude? What's up?
There's definitely more to talk about that, especially in Dallas. I'd rather dedicate a break to something local, to something awesome that the police officers are doing, or something hilarious that's happening here in Texas versus, oh my gosh, Kim Kardashian was at the Met Gala and blah, blah, blah. Like, who cares?
The thing, though, with Kim is I think that's all fake and written, but you know who's actually losing his mind right in front of us? Who's going to be the next version of Britney is Bieber. Dude, Bieber's losing his mind by the day.
Yeah, you know what? I've kind of lost track of him. I mean, I follow him on Instagram. I don't think he really posts to Instagram much anymore. I followed him, when I was in top 40, so I could know what's going on with him. But yeah, my wife just mentioned that to me this week. She's like, I don't think he's doing very well. And I mean, I know he got married, and he's, dude, I can't imagine.
He didn't sign a prenup, and he's worth $500 million, and she's worth $1 million. He didn't sign a prenup.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I can't. I try to emphasize which what he goes through, but it's just impossible. Like you said, he's worth $500 million. I mean, he's lived a life that literally no one else has ever went through from the time he was, I don't know when he got discovered by Scooter Braun and Usher, but I just remember when I was in Las Vegas, it was 2008, 9, when Baby was a thing, and it was nuts at that time. And now it's 10 years later, and the dude just wants to be able to like freaking go to the store and not be mauled, but he can't.
He's brought it on himself. The problem is, I think he's grown up as a person. Like when he was drunk driving 5 years ago, that was like dumb Bieber. But I feel like he's done so many choices that, like you said, it's hard to feel bad for him because he just did so much shitty things in the last 10 years that now it's like it's almost a little bit of a case of too little, too late.
Yeah, like you said, like at the time when he's all peeing into buckets and, smoking weed and drunk driving and all that stuff, I was like, man, this guy's an idiot. But here's the thing. Everybody goes through it. When I lived in Las Vegas, when I lived in Boise, I was an idiot. I did stupid stuff. I'm fortunate that the stupid stuff that I did and that we all did wasn't picked up by TMZ and reported in front of the entire world, So I have some sympathy for him. And I mean, I hope he doesn't lose his mind, but it's dang, man, he's got a life that no one else has lived. I don't know.
Now, for people that haven't heard your show, where can they find it?
Well, here in Dallas, 99.5 The Wolf. Man, I never realized how many people listen online and on like iHeartRadio. Like we are on iHeart, but we just last when was it? It was on Monday or Tuesday. I had a dude from England call me, which was crazy because it was like 3 PM there, and he's got a British accent, and basically, we were talking about this site that somebody created, NathanFastSucks.com, and he was coming to my defense. He's like, bro, in his British accent, if you suck so bad, I would not listen every morning from England, to get my country music fix. And it was, we've got, people from Australia. I got a Facebook message today, somebody from Australia, people from all over listen. But I've also really started putting a focus on our podcast, which is available, iTunes, Google Play, everywhere. I used to hate podcasts. I used to hate Spotify. I remember when Spotify first came out and Pandora, I was like, oh, that is the devil. That's the enemy. That's going to, they're going up against radio. Dude, I love Spotify now. I love podcasts. Podcasts are what I listen to every morning now going into the station. I used to listen to sports radio, but I found that I would just get pissed off. And when I finally got to the station, I'd just be irritated because, the host or whatever, the overnight guy who was trying to be a smartass just pissed me off. So I'll listen to motivational podcasts or just podcasts to get my brain going. So by the time I get to the studio, I'm, in a good mood. I'm feeling pumped up and I'm ready to go.
I go through waves with sports radio. Like I'll listen to Jim Rome or some of the other shows on CBS Sports Radio during the basketball playoffs for NBA and during the NFL season. But, dude, if you listen right now, I just get so bored hearing the Auburn coach for the basketball team getting interviewed. Like, I'm good.
Yeah, to be honest, like I said, I listen to almost exclusively podcasts now when I'm in my car. I will say, though, some of those podcasts are for the sports station. They're our sister station. I used to never listen to them because, very rarely do they even talk about sports. It's a personality sports station, and they're the ticket here in Dallas, and they're legendary. But I used to hate listening to them when I would be in my car because I'm like, dude, I just want sports. I want to hear what's going on with the Cowboys and the Mavs. And you're talking about freaking, Making a Murderer on Netflix. I'm like, if I wanted that, I wouldn't come to you. Like, give me sports. But now, I kind of enjoy it, and that's, man, they crush it, and they've been legendary here in Dallas for 25 years. And the thing about those guys is, God, if I could have a career like all those jocks for 25 years, I would consider myself lucky. Like, those guys have all been around for a long time, and they've just got an army of they call them P1s, but they're very loyal.
Who do you look up to when it comes to like people in radio? Like, who do you look up to in radio?
I think I look up to different people for different reasons, and it's kind of evolved and changed as I've grown in my career. I think just from a being relatable and having people love you and just being likable, JoJo in LA is phenomenal. He's been there for, just years and years and years, and everybody knows him. It's so funny to talk to him or to look at his Instagram, and he'll post a picture from, I don't even know what year, we'll just say 1998, on the plane with the Backstreet Boys, like when they were a new band, he just, it's crazy because a lot of artists, the crazy thing about LA is that, that's where a lot of artists are from, and they grow up listening to that station. And so when they go to the station, they're starstruck. And that was a big adjustment for me because, in Boise, it was we didn't even have big artists roll through Boise, but it'd be like, oh man, we got Adam Lambert. We got, I don't even freaking know, Chris Daughtry coming to Boise. This is a big deal. But people are starstruck when they go to LA, and there's a respect. And I remember when I was first getting on there, I had lunch with the program director there, John, and he kind of scared the shit out of me because he basically, he's like, all right, couple things. First of all, if somebody calls you during your shift and they're in the lobby and they want to come up and play their new song, you call me first. Britney Spears has showed up at Kiss FM before on a weekend wanting to come up and play her new song. He's like, dude, don't miss a spot because that spot is worth more than you make in a year. And I was like, well, fuck. And he's like, and don't fuck up because there's just 4 million people listening. And I was like, Jesus Christ. It's a lot of pressure. But, you eventually just forget about it and you don't think about it. But going back to your question, I think JoJo's great. I think Frankie V in San Diego, he's on a lot of iHeart stations. He, from a hustle standpoint, man, I've never met anybody who hustles more than him. I don't know if you know Frankie.
I've heard of him.
He's been to Morning Show Boot Camp before. I think he's talked, whatever. I had respect for him before I even moved to San Diego and before I even met him. But he's one of my best friends, man, and he just hustles and grinds, and he gets it. Like he is out 3 or 4, 5 nights a week hosting charity events or going to premieres of whatever, just being out there and building a name in the community, which I think a lot of people don't do anymore. They just think they can show up for 3 or 4 hours in the morning and they're instantly going to be superstars. And he just hustles. And his brother Mikey, by the way, is on the air in Boston. It's the same thing, man. He's just out in the clubs, DJing, hosting stuff. They hustle. And Jesse Lozano, he does the mornings in San Diego and afternoons there in LA. He's just, man, so relatable and so creative. And there's jocks that are liner jocks. I mean, you get liners, like you get, hey, we have tickets to blah, blah, blah concert. So you can just read that info. You can say, yeah, on the 10s, we're having tickets to freaking whatever. Or you can be creative with that. And make it your own. Like anybody can read a liner, but being able to put some personality behind it, man. And I don't think there's many people who are better at it than he is.
You know what I hate? I hate hearing radio people that are maybe part-time on the weekends in a small market, and they bitch about how they haven't gotten their big break, but then they don't have a social media account. And then when you listen to them on air, they sound bored. And I'm like, that's why, dude. You got to be hyper on air. You got to show that you want to be there.
Yeah, that's a good point. And I was actually thinking about that today when I was driving home, and I was thinking about doing this with you because I remember that feeling when I was a part-timer in Las Vegas and I was sending my demo out to everybody. And I didn't have a social media following. Social media, Facebook was a thing, Twitter, MySpace was still a thing, but I don't think it was quite as big of a thing as it is now. But I didn't get any responses. And I was like, oh man, there's no opportunities. How am I ever going to get my foot in the door? And I was thinking back now, 10 years later in 2019, there's even fewer opportunities, with syndication, with voice tracking, with just all the corporate crap that's going on in radio, there's fewer opportunities than ever. But that being said, if you can really stand out and you could be amazing and you have a personality and cut through everything else, I think there's for sure going to be opportunities for you. If you can prove yourself, if there's somebody in Dallas that proved to me that they're funny, they're entertaining, they have a work ethic and they get it, for sure I would find a place for them,
Do you think it shows that people are easily threatened if they don't want to help up-and-comers? And that's not me throwing a shot at anybody. That's just me saying, do you think if a person doesn't want to help out the younger talent, they might be threatened?
Yeah, I could see that. I don't know. I can't speak to anybody else.
Yeah.
I don't know. I've personally never felt threatened. I've always wanted to kind of help because I know how it felt being new and not knowing anything. And I remember sitting. I would work the overnight shift in Las Vegas, and then I would go home, take a nap, pound a Red Bull, and go freaking sit in front of a spreadsheet all day. But I would sit there, after my shift or before my shift, I'd come in early and talk to the night guy there and just BS about radio. And he taught me a lot. Like we all, we were all competitive, we all wanted to get the best weekend shifts, whatever, but I'm still friends with all those guys. I never have felt threatened. And that's another thing, I mentioned Frankie. Frankie taught me, radio is, obviously we're all competitive. We all want to win. We all want to be number one. But radio is, it's just getting smaller and smaller. And Frankie's friends with everybody, man. Everybody in San Diego loves him. When I was in Boise, dude, I wanted to murder my competition. I hated them. And that's kind of what I learned from my PD in Las Vegas, who's amazing, Cat Thomas, one of the most competitive dudes I ever met. And he instilled that in me. He's like, you know what? This is my livelihood. My competition is trying to take food out of my family's mouths. It's true. And so I went to Boise with that mentality. I wanted to murder my competition. But, at the same time, I want to be a nice guy. I want to go to, artist interviews and meet and greets at, venues and stuff and, be cool with the competition. We have to stand in line for 5-10 minutes waiting to interview Ed Sheeran or whatever. I don't want to just stand there and not talk to them. I want to be cool with them, Life's too short.
Well, dude, keep up the good work, man. It seems that you are growing up, and that's a good thing, and I think that's why you produce results in radio.
Well, I appreciate it, man. This has been really fun. Did you say you said, hey, do you got 20 minutes? This is an hour. Holy
I know.
crap.
I was just looking at Adobe. I was like, man, the time flew. That was fun, dude.
Sorry, man. I hope you got enough storage space on your hard drive.
It's all good, bro.
Happy Hour. Happy Hour.